Inverse of an element. The inverse of an element x, denoted by V under a binary operation style, can be determined using the identity element I star. The general equation for finding V is given below, and the equation is given by x operation V is equals to V operation x and is equals to the identity element of that given operation. So, when we use an inverse element to operate an element, the answer is the identity element. That is the formula. So the inverse element operate any element, give us the identity element under that operation. Now consider some examples. Example 1. Find the inverse of the real number 5 under A, addition, and B, multiplication. So let's solve for addition. So the first step, we are going to find the identity element. Now let I plus denote the identity element under addition. So we're going to find the identity element first before we'll be able to find the inverse element. Now if I plus is the identity element under addition, it implies that I plus an element x should be equals to x. I plus is equals to x minus x, and this means that I plus is equals to 0. Hence, the identity element under addition is 0. So after finding the identity element, the next step will find the inverse element. But remember that from the formula given above, we have that since x plus the inverse element, s plus the inverse element should be the identity element. So any element plus the inverse element must give us the identity element. Now, in the question, we are asked to find the inverse of 5. So x becomes 5 plus inverse, we are looking for the inverse, and the identity element on the addition is 0, 0. So 5 plus v gives us 0, which implies that v is equals to 0 minus 5, and sv is equals to minus 5. So the inverse element of 5 under addition is minus 5. That is the inverse. So let's look for the inverse element of 5 under multiplication. So in the same way, in the b part of it, we're going to let I times be the identity element under multiplication. Now we need to find the identity element first before we'll be able to find the inverse element. And if I times A is the identity element, it implies that I times y should be equals to y. And from here, if we divide both sides by y, we have that I times is equals to 1. Because you cancel all through. That means that the identity element under multiplication is 1. Now, we'll proceed to find the inverse element. But remember that the inverse element multiplied y gives us the identity element. The inverse element multiply an element gives us the identity element. Now we're looking for the inverse element times y. In this case, with 5 that we're looking for is inverse under multiplication. So yes, 5 is equals to the identity element, and the identity element is 1. This implies that 5v is equals to 1 and v is equals to 1 over 5 if you divide both sides by 5. Hence, the inverse element of 5 under multiplication is 1 over 5, and that is the answer. If you want to learn more about inverse elements, kindly message me on WhatsApp. Your wife, subscribe to this channel, like and share my video. Bye.